Dumas's fiction is chilling, but the true story of the wealthy French nobleman who sought justice is far more intricate and devastating. While Edmond Dantès' tale of betrayal and revenge captivates us, the reality behind it is a story so unbelievable it had to be true. Let's travel back to the early 19th century to meet the real Count of Monte Cristo. His name was not Edmond Dantès, but Pierre Picard. Before his world was torn apart, Pierre Picard was a simple, unassuming shoemaker living in Ancient France. In 1807, he was on the brink of happiness, engaged to a beautiful and wealthy woman named Marguerite Vigoureux. Life seemed perfect. He was in love, and his future was bright. But this happiness attracted not admiration, but a dark, corrosive envy from those he considered his friends. Three of Picard's so-called friends, Lupin, Solari, and Chobot, gathered at a local cafe, their conversations steeped in jealousy. Lupin, who secretly coveted Marguerite for himself, was the ringleader. Fueled by spite, they concocted a monstrous lie. They decided to falsely accuse Picard of being a spy for England, a traitor to Napoleon's France. At that time, such an accusation was a virtual death sentence, a one-way ticket to a place from which few returned. They wrote an anonymous letter, a single piece of paper filled with venomous falsehoods, and sent it to the authorities. The accusation, though baseless, was taken with deadly seriousness by the paranoid imperial police. On his wedding day, just as he was about to unite with his beloved Marguerite, Pierre Picard was arrested. He was given no trial, no chance to defend himself, no explanation. He was simply snatched away from his life and thrown into the dark, formidable Fenestral fortress, a place where hope went to die. His name was erased, and he was known only as prisoner number 34, for 7 long years. Picard endured the unimaginable horrors of imprisonment. The world he knew ceased to exist. His fiancée, his future, his freedom all gone. In the darkness of his cell, despair was his only companion. But fate, in its mysterious way, had a twist in store. Picard was moved to a new cell, which he shared with a wealthy and learned Italian priest, Father Torri. The priest was a man of immense knowledge and, as it turned out, immense wealth. Seeing the injustice done to Picard, Father Torri took the young man under his wing. He became Picard's mentor, educating him in languages, history, science, and culture. More than that, he became the father figure Picard had lost. As the years passed, their bond deepened, but the old priest was ailing. On his deathbed, he made a staggering confession to Picard. He revealed the location of a vast, hidden treasure of fortune in gold, diamonds, and precious jewels, concealed in Milan. He bequeathed it all to Picard, making him the sole heir to this incredible wealth. Shortly after Father Torri's death, Napoleon's empire fell in 1814, and the prisoners of Fenestral were released. After 7 years in hell, Pierre Picard was finally a free man, but he was no longer the simple shoemaker from Ancients. He was a man transformed by suffering, educated by a master, and now, secretly, one of the wealthiest men in Europe. He traveled to Milan, found the priest's hidden treasure exactly as described, and secured his fortune. His first identity, Pierre Picard, died in that prison. A new man was born, now possessing unimaginable wealth and a burning desire for justice. Picard began to meticulously plan his revenge. He returned to Paris, but not as himself. He adopted a new persona, the enigmatic and sophisticated Marquis de Brie. His first stop was his old neighborhood. There, he sought out a man named Alute, who knew about the plot against him but had remained silent. Picard, disguised, offered Alute a magnificent diamond in exchange for the full story and the names of his betrayers. Alute, greedy and unsuspecting, confessed everything. He revealed the roles of Lupin, Solari, and Chobot in the wicked scheme. He also delivered the most crushing news of all. 2 years after Picard's disappearance, his fiancée Marguerite, believing him to be dead, had married the very man who orchestrated his downfall. Lupin. The fire of vengeance now had a clear target. Picard's plan was not to be swift and merciful. It was to be a slow, torturous dismantling of the lives of those who had wronged him. He would not just punish them, he would make them suffer as he had suffered. He began with Chobot, the first of his 3 betrayers. Picard, still in disguise, discovered Chobot's deepest desire and weakness. He orchestrated a situation, a perfect trap, that led directly to Chobot's demise. The exact details are lost to history, but the outcome was clear. The first name on his list was crossed off. Next was Solari. Picard, a master of manipulation, engineered a series of events that brought Solari to the brink of madness before he ultimately died. Each act of revenge was a cold, calculated masterpiece of psychological warfare. Picard used his immense fortune to pull the strings, turning his enemies' own ambitions and weaknesses against them. He was a phantom, an invisible force of retribution, and they never saw him coming. Finally, he turned his attention to the architect of his misery, Lupin. This was to be his masterwork of revenge. Lupin had achieved everything he wanted. He had married Marguerite and was now a successful, respected restaurateur in Paris. Picard, as the charming Marquise, began to frequent Lupin's establishment, slowly and deliberately befriending him and his family. He learned of Lupin's daughter, a beautiful young woman who was engaged to a man she loved. Picard saw the perfect, cruel symmetry. He began his assault on Lupin's life. First, he poisoned Lupin's reputation, spreading vicious rumors that destroyed his business and drove away his customers. Then Picard, the wolf in sheep's clothing, seduced Lupion's daughter. He convinced her to abandon her fiancé and elope with him, only to abandon her himself, leaving her disgraced and heartbroken. Next, he framed Lupion's son for theft, resulting in the young man's imprisonment for 20 years. Lupion's world crumbled piece by piece. His business was gone, his daughter was ruined, his son was in prison, and his wife, Marguerite, died from the sheer grief and shock of it all. Lupion was left with nothing. In his final devastating move, Picard revealed his true identity. He confronted the broken man, forcing him to understand the full scope of the ruin he had brought upon himself. As Lupion begged for mercy, Picard ended his suffering with a single fatal strike of a dagger. His 10-year quest for revenge was complete. The men who had destroyed his life were all gone. But this is where the true story takes its final, tragic turn, one far darker than Dumas's novel. As Picard was leaving the scene of his final act of vengeance, he was ambushed and captured by none other than Alute, the very man who had sold him the information. Alute knew of Picard's immense fortune and wanted it for himself. He and his accomplices held Picard captive, torturing him to reveal the location of his treasure. But Picard, a man forged in the fires of a dungeon, refused to speak. He endured the torment until his body could take no more, and he died, taking the secret of his remaining fortune with him. The entire, shocking story only came to light when one of Alute's accomplices, on his deathbed in England years later, made a full confession to a French priest, detailing Picard's entire journey from shoemaker to avenger. The police archives later confirmed the arrest, the accusers, and the imprisonment. This was not fiction. This was a documented, real-life tragedy of love, betrayal, and a revenge so complete it consumed everyone it touched, including the Avenger himself. The story of Pierre Picard is a powerful reminder that while justice can be sought, true all-consuming revenge leaves no victors, only graves. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey into history. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button, subscribe for more tales from the past, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Let me know in the comments what you think about Picard's story. See you next time.